We've all heard it. You just need to get motivated. Find your why.
Let me tell you a secret.
Watch an inspiring video.
Everybody
Listen
always
to a
says,
powerful speech,
if you tried your
then
best,
suddenly
that's all that
you'll be
matters.
ready,
But there is a
right?
secret to the universe that most.
This is the lie that keeps people stuck for years. The truth is darker and more liberating. Motivation is not the answer. It's the trap. The more you rely on motivation, the weaker you become. Because what is motivation, really? A fleeting feeling, a temporary high, a momentary rush of energy that fades just as fast as it comes. And yet, we treat it like a fuel source. We wait for it, chase it, worship it. But here's the paradox. The more you chase motivation, the more powerless you become. You start to believe that action depends on emotion, that discipline depends on desire, that you must feel like doing something before you can do it. But what happens when the feeling never comes? You sit, you stall, you scroll, and so the cycle repeats. But the greatest minds in history, from Marcus Aurelius to Miyamoto Musashi, didn't wait for motivation. They knew something deeper. They knew that the real engine of change comes from something far more powerful, and that's the shift you're about to see. What if the secret to unstoppable action had nothing to do with how you feel? What if it came from something you don't even think about? Identity, not motivation, not willpower, who you believe you are. That's the root of everything. You brush your teeth every morning, not because you feel inspired, but because it's what you do. It's part of who you are. You don't question it. You don't need a pep talk, because your behavior flows directly from your identity. I am someone who takes care of my body, so I brush. Period. This is the real shift. Don't try to feel different, become someone else. When you change how you see yourself, your actions follow automatically, not with strain, not with force, with alignment. Carl Jung called this integration. Becoming whole. Not chasing motivation to act, but becoming the kind of person who acts regardless. You want to write that book? Stop trying to feel like a writer. Be a writer. You want to get in shape? Stop waiting to want it. Be the kind of person who moves their body daily, no matter what. Motivation is a feeling. Identity is a foundation. The old self waits. The new self moves. Choose who you are, and the rest takes care of itself. Modern culture glorifies motivation. Ancient wisdom saw through it. The Stoics, the Buddhists, the samurai. They lived by a different code, one that had nothing to do with emotion. The Stoics believed in acting according to reason and virtue. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "At dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, 'I am.' Rising to do the work of a human being, not because it feels good, because it is right." Buddhist monks train for years not to act on craving or aversion, but on awareness. They don't chase energy. They observe it. They move without needing to feel ready. And the samurai, they didn't wait for inspiration to draw the sword. They moved with discipline, clarity, and devotion. They acted as if death could come at any moment, because it could. None of these warriors, seekers, or sages lived by motivation. They lived by code, by stillness, by an inner compass. And what did they gain? Peace, power, presence. Because when your actions are no longer chained to your feelings, you become untouchable. Modern science confirms what ancient wisdom intuited. Motivation is a chemical illusion. Dopamine, the neurotransmitter of desire, gives you the feeling of progress, the thrill of almost doing something, but not actual movement. You feel good watching motivational videos, setting goals, making grand plans, but that's not action, that's dopamine. And here's the trap. You get addicted to the feeling of becoming without ever being. You feel productive without producing. You feel inspired, but remain still. You feel like change is happening, but nothing changes. This is how motivation betrays you. You crave the hit. You wait for the rush. And when it doesn't come, you assume something's wrong with you. But nothing's wrong, you're just caught in a chemical loop. Motivation is not power, it's noise. The truth is, the less you depend on dopamine, the more freedom you find, because real power doesn't shout, it moves, quietly, consistently, with or without the high. Here's the shift that changes everything. Discipline is not punishment, it is freedom, not the freedom to do whatever you want, but the freedom to do what you must, even when you don't want to. This is what ancient mystics called sacred will, the part of you that remembers who you are, even when the world and your emotions try to make you forget. Spiritual. Teacher G.I. Gurdjieff taught that most people live like machines. They react, they obey their feelings, they are driven by outer forces. But the disciplined man, the spiritually awake man, acts from within. Discipline is not force, it is remembrance, it is self-respect. Every time you follow through, even when you don't feel like it, you teach your nervous system. I am in charge, not my moods, not my cravings, me. This is how warriors are made, not by waiting for the right moment, but by becoming the kind of soul that creates the moment. Discipline isn't rigidity, it's alignment. It is the moment you say, I no longer wait to feel powerful, I remember that I already am. Now let's make this real. No more waiting for motivation. No more searching for the spark. Just one shift each morning to root yourself in identity. The ritual is simple. When you wake up, don't ask, what do I feel like doing today? Ask, who must I be today? Sit, breathe, feel into the version of you who is already living the life you want, already doing the work, already showing up without hesitation. Call it to the surface. Feel their posture, their calm, their certainty, and act from that place. This is not pretending, this is remembering. Neville Goddard said, assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. You're not lying to yourself. You're activating a deeper truth, one your mind has forgotten but your soul never has. When this becomes a daily ritual, motivation becomes irrelevant, because you don't act from feeling anymore, you act from knowing who you are. So here we are. You weren't broken, you weren't lazy, you didn't lack willpower, you were just waiting for a feeling, waiting for a wave of energy that was never going to last. But here's the truth, you were never waiting for motivation, you were waiting for yourself, the real you, the grounded you, the one who doesn't beg for permission from emotion, the one who doesn't hustle, scroll or seek, the one who acts. The shift was never about forcing change. It was about becoming the version of you who doesn't need to be convinced, and now you know how. Motivation is a spark, but identity is the flame. And once that fire is lit, you'll never have to wait again. You've been lied to, not maliciously but blindly, they told you. You just need more motivation. That fire inside, light it, stoke it, chase it. And when you lose it, find it again, force it, fake it. But here's the truth. No one dares to admit, motivation is the most unreliable fuel you could ever depend on. It comes like lightning, sudden, bright, powerful, but it vanishes just as fast, leaving you in the dark, alone, unmoving, and you wonder, what's wrong with me? But nothing is wrong with you. What's broken is the system, the idea that you must feel something before you do something. That belief is what keeps you stuck. So today, we're not here to spark motivation, we're here to bury it, and in its place awaken something far deeper, something ancient, something unshakable. Picture this, a Stoic in the cold morning light, rising before the sun. He doesn't ask himself if he feels ready. He simply acts, moves, lives, not from emotion, but from essence. You've been taught to wait for energy. But what if you could become the source of it? There's a force beyond motivation. It's not loud, it's not flashy, but it's steady, relentless, rooted in identity and rhythm. Modern science calls it automaticity. Philosophers call it virtue. Mystics call it alignment. It's the quiet current that pulls you into movement, not because you feel like it, but because it's who you are. This shift begins when action is no longer a negotiation. You don't ask, should I do this today? You already are. It's not about fighting yourself. It's about dissolving the fight altogether. You don't rise to your goals. You fall to your identity. That's the secret no one wants to face. Because changing what you do is easy. But changing who you are, that's where the real work begins. Jung called it individuation. Becoming what you were always meant to be. Not what you were taught to be, not what you pretend to be, but the deep, unmovable truth beneath it all. You don't need motivation when your actions reflect your essence. A warrior doesn't train because he's motivated. He trains because he is a warrior. It's not a performance. It's embodiment. Ask yourself, what kind of being do you believe you are? Because everything you do stems from that image. You want to change your life? Then burn the old image. Die to the false self, and awaken the one that doesn't need permission to act, the one who moves not to become but because they already are.